Good evening, everybody. Today is Tuesday, November 9th. It's the monthly meeting for the planning board in Veterans Memorial Building, room 229. If everybody could stand first, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. The first item we have on the agenda is a special permit application with site plan approval, public hearing for 808 Main Street McDonald's Restaurant. Nicole, if you read the...
Town of Millis Office of the Planning Board, notice of public hearing. In accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 11, the Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, November 9th, 2021, at 7:30 p.m. in the Veterans Memorial Building, room 229, 900 Main Street, Millis, on the application of John Kuchik, Bowler Engineering, for McDonald's Real Estate Company, 110 North Carpenter Street, Chicago, Illinois, requesting a special permit under Section 13, Special Permit Conditions, Paragraph C, Site Plan Review of the zoning bylaws of the Town of Millis, and Section 12Q, Section 5, Use Regulations, to reconstruct the existing McDonald's restaurant located at 808 Main Street, Millis, Mass. Assessors Map 24, Parcel 3. A copy of the application and site plan is on file in the office of the town clerk and on the planning board's webpage. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the application should appear at the time and place designated. Richard Nichols, Chair.
All right, thank you. And who's here from Bowler tonight? Could you give us the 2-minute version of what you guys are doing down there?
All right, for the record, Eric DeBrule with Bowler Engineering, here on behalf of the applicant. We're also joined tonight by Eric Wagner, who's Area Construction Manager with McDonald's Corporate. Just to give you a little bit of brief history, a lot of familiar faces on the board, but we were before you a little over a year ago with a very similar application. We ultimately withdrew to review architecture, some comments from the board and the city on architecture. McDonald's wanted to take a step back and make sure they had enough time, weren't rushed to really get architecture that they were comfortable with and that they knew the city and the board would be comfortable with. June of this year, we informally met with the board virtually to review those updated architecture. In general, I think we got some positive feedback. They were working in the right direction. That gave us confidence to resubmit planning board, board of health, zoning board, which brings us to where we are today in front of you. Very high level. We see the existing site. I'm sure most of us are familiar. McDonald's is essentially redeveloping the entirety of the property. The one thing that is going to remain is the existing foundation. They're going to keep that foundation, build everything new from there. The existing McDonald's, about 4,000 square feet, has an existing drive-through, 1 order point, 1 lane, and 2 drive-through windows. Counterclockwise circulation, pretty typical of a drive-through use throughout. Just bring up the proposed. So the high level on the site plan, again, we're going to reuse the existing foundation. Everything is going to be pretty much brand new on the site, except for the freestanding sign, which will be existing to remain out front. The building will be about 4,000 square feet. We're going to reuse the existing driveways. There's a single entrance and a single exit driveway. We're not touching that, so that'll be existing to remain. One of the biggest improvements I think we'll see on this site from an operations and site circulation perspective, obviously we're going to have a brand new building, landscaping, but from a site plan perspective is the addition of this double drive-through. Under existing conditions, we've got the single lane and the single order point that has a tendency to back up. People can't get around it. You have to wait for the order. If there's a long order, people aren't familiar with the menu, you tend to see those types of facilities backing behind the order point. We're doing what McDonald's has done for a little over a decade, is add a double drive-through. that adds a secondary order point to the outside lane and in the landscape island. So effectively what you get, instead of having that, the stacking happen behind the order points, you're going to start to see that stacking happen after the order points. They're going to be able to take in their orders more efficiently. And then not only is the ordering more efficient, but we're going to have, what they have today is the 2 windows, drive-through windows. So you make your order, go to the first window, pick up, pay, second window, pick up. They're adding a 3rd window. That would be if your order is not ready at the 2nd window, they can just ask you to pull up. Again, it takes that long order, or the order that's not ready, that in the previous facility would just hold that stack up, gets that order out, and just keeps things flowing. In addition to that 3rd window, there's 2 additional parking spaces like that where you can pull forward to. Again, all with the attempt of making the ordering and the drive-through operations more efficient. Ultimately, what you get, instead of having that stacking behind the order point under existing, you put it behind at the drive-through windows and back to the ordering point. McDonald's been extremely successful over the past 10 years. They've got probably 100 plus locations like this throughout, if not many, many more. Relative to parking, 37 proposed parking, we are reducing what's out there today, but operationally, McDonald's is very comfortable with 37 parking spaces. Only 11 are required by zoning, but that 37 is right at the threshold of their comfort level for what they want to be providing. Let's see, another thing that we're adding to this site that we don't have under the existing is that front, what we'll call a recirculation lane. That allows customers, maybe you leave the drive-through window, you don't have everything in your order, or you realize you need to use the bathroom or just get back into the site. Rather than having to circulate back into Main Street, you can just recirculate the front of the building, and then you've got parking or access to the drive-through again. Again, it's just an attempt to keep people off of Main Street that wouldn't otherwise need to enter there.
All right, that's good, thank you, appreciate that.
Sure.
You are set with that? I think that covered everything.
Yeah, landscaping, we're adding probably about under 300 new plantings on site. We do have the proposed architecture if we want to see that. I know there are some outstanding peer review comments that I'd love to address or just get board's feedback before closing out tonight. So I suspect we'll need to go back, revise plans, and see you again in the future, but don't know when we want to address that, if you guys want to comment, and then we want to hit the peer review letter, but.
Well, I was gonna jump onto the peer review letter next, that would be the next step.
Perfect, good.
Melissa, do you want to run through the items for us?
Sure. The first thing that we had on in the peer review was just reviewing the signage with the board. There's the one existing sign to remain.
Yeah, just we'll pull the mic over. Yeah, just show the.
So they're not proposing any changes to that one. They're proposing a McDonald's M logo on the building that is to be illuminated internally. The bylaw section that I reference here talks about illumination in other commercial areas. This is a specific area on 109 between Main and Adams and Hammond. It doesn't speak to illumination of a wall sign for that particular stretch on Main Street. They do have illumination on the building right now under the existing. It's kind of that classic where the light comes down the roof. Some of it needs new light bulbs, but that was just one item I wanted to bring up on whether the board had any discussion points for the applicant on the sign. It meets the dimensional
Right.
requirements.
Do you want to go through these at the end, or you want to go through them now? We can. just make it- go through them at the end.
now.
Go through them now? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
So, what do
as
you-
Melissa goes through
Yeah,
them, why don't we
let's go
address
through
them?
So, I mean, I don't really have an issue with that. I think the idea on the, they have a sign there already. I know where, I think there's another sign somewhere that is lit from the back. I'm trying to think of where it was.
The mobile has an internally lit sign.
Yeah.
On the wall of on the mobile station. The sign on the road is lit from below, but on the front wall of the mobile station is is the rectangle mobile, that's,
Right.
is that eternally lit?
Does that predate our rules? Or is it?
No, I think,
subsequent?
George, that was, that was under that, because you guys pushed to have them, the colonial mobile.
Yeah,
Right,
but that's for the street signs.
yes, and we also eliminated anything along the fascia up top on the canopy too. They wanted signs up there and we said no.
Okay.
So, I don't remember what the sign looks like now. But yeah, that was, I think that predated some of the stuff that we had.
Mobile?
Yeah, that was back almost 20 years ago.
They do have an elevation of that.
So this
In the
is
very
just-
back, they have, do you want to, Eric, do you want to pull that up so you can show where that sign would be?
So that's the front elevation with about a 14 square foot internally illuminated sign. I do believe the Verizon CVS, there's many abutting properties with internally illuminated signs. I know zoning is silent on the building signage with illumination. The freestanding sign is where they restrict. So I think we're compliant with this sign.
I mean, it's downtown, it's down in the shopping area, it doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
bother me.
Do you have a picture of the
Theirs is
freestanding one?
externally lit.
No,
Picture of the freestanding. I don't have a picture of the existing
Oh, do you have a
freestanding.
Ask
picture?
Ellen,
You gonna
'cause I
keep
think-
that
I
particular
don't
sign?
think it's eternally lit
Yes.
on the
The
building.
original one that's out front?
Yep,
That's
existing,
gonna stay, it's like a marquee,
correct.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's been there since whenever they built it, which was 30 years ago?
But the original McDonald's?
Yeah.
Yeah, they built it in 1982,
Okay.
because we were excited when it came out. We had something in Millis, it was exciting.
So were the residents of Sherman, we were excited too.
All right, so we didn't come to a conclusion on this. What's the thought on this? On this, it doesn't particularly bother me, it's on the building, I think that's fine.
Well, wait a minute,
Yes.
in that same section,
Mm-hmm.
Roach Brothers has the sign on the wall, on the building, not out front. That's not internally lit. CBS is not internally lit. What about but like the Verizon and those shops, those are all internally lit? Okay.
Okay.
I just,
All right, I think we're okay with that.
In regards to the parking comments that we had, they're all kind of intertwined and related, and, you know, I would say, obviously, you can see that the existing law is non-conforming, for space dimensions, drive aisle, landscaping islands, lot coverage, and the new layout is gonna improve that with more landscaping, less impervious cover. The modification, one of the modifications that's being proposed, that I'd point out, is to the angled parking where you drive in. And the bylaw states that they can only do angled parking if it's approved by the planning board. So with the application, I think you need to, just consider that, and you need to actually approve the angled parking. The drive aisle width I think the reason for the angle is the drive aisle width is getting smaller than it is today by a foot, maybe, foot and a half.
Yeah, I'll call it several feet. So
few
the
feet.
existing stalls are about 18 feet under existing conditions, and that existing aisle, I think, is maybe about 22 feet. It varies. It's the same exact, we're working with the same space. It's the same landscape curbed in the building. So what we're proposing is 20 feet for the stalls against the building, 18 on the side, and then 19 and a half in the center. But
So the parking space length is shorter than the 21 that's required. The parking lane is getting, or the drive aisle is getting skinnier, which for angled parking in a one-way alignment, 19 is long enough. You're gonna get some overhang from the cars with only an 18-inch space. The consideration I would point out with that is that If you just have one lane driving through, one lane of cars, I think that's fine. If the intention is to be able to have a car in the drive-through lane and another car drive past them to get around the site, I don't think that there will not be enough room to do that. Eric was describing how the site circulation works, and obviously with the 2 order boards, it's gonna reduce the queuing, but if they do start to queue into that drive aisle between the 2 spaces, I think there'll be a situation where cars can't get around the site if they want to, and you start to block the handicap spots, which is an existing condition as well. The handicap spots are in the same place in the proposed as they are in the existing. Does that make sense? I mean,
Yeah, no, it
it's
makes
just,
sense.
it's
I
an
don't-
existing, but
yeah.
it's a consideration.
It's been there just like that, and, I can't remember, I know like after like a football game or something like that, it might get busy, but 99% of the time, other than the queue, other than having to wait, generally it's, now so let's say that it's backed up, somebody pulls in, they could go on the pass-through lane in front, that's a 2-way in front of it?
It's
Your
one.
turn, one way.
But you're talking, this is all one way, is that what
No, I know, but in front of the building, there, that one, could that be, can they go through that way? They could go to get out. If they said, hey, it's Jim, I pulled in, I decide I want to get out, could they take a left and then go to the exit?
No, this would be the entrance only and exit, so they have to recirculate. Anyone using these stalls would go back
We
around,
didn't
but I mean,
want
it's
it,
pretty
we
limited.
didn't want it to
parking.
last time they came forward. We asked them.
So again, under normal operating circumstances, we wouldn't expect that drive-through to stack back further than a couple. We would envision car each here, a car behind each, and then one at a decision point. Having cars stacked back here is something wrong and not a typical situation. If
But it stacks out.
I think if there's a concern with the ADA parking, I think we talked about it, we never resolved it a year ago. We could put those stalls at the front of the building. Those ADA stalls won't get blocked there for sure. Then you're talking about maybe blocking a couple spaces under peak conditions and something's going wrong in operation.
No, like I said, most of the time when you go by, it's only after, like something big happens and.
Yep.
If you were to move, I'm sorry, Mr.
No,
Chairman.
go ahead, sir.
If you were to move the handicap spots to the front, then that would require someone to come in, drive around the whole building.
Yep.
And then drive around a second time to get out.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think from a convenience
I don't-
perspective,
Yeah.
if
I
they're,
don't think that's a good idea,
I don't think so.
putting handicap spots there.
we're talking about an inconvenience, there's not a safety issue where they are. If under chance they might have to wait a minute to get in or out of their spot, I think they're in a better spot under 99% of the operating conditions where they're proposed.
Mr. Chairman, where is your delivery entrance?
Entrance, so they would come in the entrance drive, circulate
No,
around.
Delivery for your truck deliveries.
Oh, at the door, yep.
Because many times I've driven by and there's a tractor trailer in the driveway. And of course, they've got cones around it and they're right where the handicap spots are. That's the delivery entrance. Is that going to be the same delivery entrance or is it going to be someplace else? And there's usually a tractor trailer that comes in.
Yep, that door is in a very similar location under proposed conditions.
But they would have to block all those parking spots to deliver. So do you have delivery times that you would change?
I mean, I think the deliveries come in off-peak hours, a few times a week for
We can specify a specific time of delivery if necessary.
Because right now, when they pull in, they block that whole side of the building,
Yep.
and they put cones around it. There's not an issue now, but there's going to be an issue there because you've got islands that are sticking out. So, are you going to keep the same hours?
I'm not sure what the delivery hours are today. I'd
No, I
have to
mean
speak
the same store hours.
to- Yes,
Okay.
as far as,
And just one other question. On your landscape plan, you have trees right at the entrances and exits. Okay, so if you have a tree or a bush at the exit, somebody can't see to the left if they're trying to pull out. I'm not sure what kind of a tree or bush you're gonna put in there.
Yeah, so that's a great point. So we definitely took a look at that. I think under the requirements of the zoning bylaw, we're actually required 6 total trees along the frontage, where we're showing 3. So we tried to place those trees where they wouldn't be in sight, have sight distance issues. So we're comfortable with that proposal. We could certainly take a look and make sure those trees are more conical instead of gonna bush out. But I think that was taken into consideration. The zoning requirements require us another 3 on the frontage or something. I don't know if it can be waived or.
Yeah, we'll do a
We
waiver.
could waive
Yeah.
that, because that would be a safety issue. If someone's trying to pull out either in a pickup and the tree's too high, they can't see who's coming down the hill.
Yeah, I mean, we would be comfortable removing the trees. It's just not something I'm used to hearing a planning board ask for on the frontage, but I definitely,
Well, it's
no
a
one,
sa-
you're not gonna get any argument from
It's a
this side.
safety issue.
Well, I think we should look at that, George, I mean,
Yeah.
because if they could put like a maple tree in that's up
Oh,
high.
yeah, it's
you
up
know,
high, it's not a
If it's
problem.
up high and it starts off, I think we should just make sure that the sight lines are taken into consideration on that. Melissa, did you want to keep going? Sorry, we got distracted for a minute there.
Sure, so we talked about the parking space dimensions, existing non-conforming, same condition. The drive aisle, the number of parking spaces, so we looked at that, and they're decreasing the number that what's existing there, but we included a table in here just based on some transportation engineering numbers and data, and we'd agree that they're on target for what, we'd expect to see for a drive-through McDonald's, as far as the number of spaces. They're keeping the entrances the same. They did do a fire truck turn plan, and I don't know if the fire chief has provided any comment to the board from reviewing, but it looks like it circulates, but we always like to get that confirmation from the fire chief, and if he sees anything else.
I have an email from fire approving the layout. I don't know if we can forward that along for
Yeah, that's
everyone.
fine, we just want to make sure we run it by them and make sure they're happy with it.
Put it in the file, yep. And then we did have the same comment pointing out the trees and, which we just talked about. And then I would jump to on page 6 of our letter, under environmental, EP1, the comment talks about, or maybe Eric just wants to talk to the board about the speakers and the boards. There is a speaker and a board there today. It is directed toward the parking lot directly back from the building. They're changing the angle of the board and the speakers. There's like a residential district, kind of like catty corner to the site. I don't know if there's any concern there, or maybe you want to talk about the volume and lighting on the boards,
Sure.
just to get a comfort factor for that.
Yep, so again, under existing conditions, you got the one menu board, one internally illuminated menu board. That the speaker in that technology doesn't self-adjust. It's just set on, whatever level it is, it's probably the highest level, and that's how it stays. And it does generally point back this way, the menu board points this way. I think these are commercial uses, I believe. There are 2 residential uses here and here. There's a pretty thick buffer, and there's a little bit of an elevation change there to consider. And it's about 200 feet to those, a little over. What we're proposing, again, those menu boards are, instead of going directly back, are probably 15 degrees, going towards those properties. The technology in both the speakers and the menu board, so the speakers will self-adjust to ambient noise. In the middle of the day, when it's a little bit louder, they'll raise so that the car can hear what's going on. At night, when it's quieter, they'll self-adjust to go lower. The goal is just to get those cars, 2 feet away to be able to hear it, not for that neighbor 225 feet away to hear it. You can self-adjust if there's issues, people are complaining. You can say, okay, keep it on level 2, don't adjust it into whatever. personally don't think there'll be any issues with noise. I think it'll be consistent with what's there today, maybe better based on the new technology. Same thing with the menu board. If you go out today, it looks like Vegas is just lit up. Those menu boards will self-adjust, so at night, just like a computer screen or your cell phone, they'll get darker as it gets darker out. So again, the goal is to get the customer 2 feet away, not the house 225 feet away. We've added additional trees and buffering in that area if there's a concern, and then again, there is an existing buffer at those neighboring residences as well.
There's nothing else. Yeah, the only thing is, and I'm jumping to the 8 of 9, you had operations maintenance plan question.
So the remainder of the comments here are stormwater related, and these did go, stormwater was also reviewed with the Board of Health in a previous meeting, and there were some changes requested, some comments, some notes that are getting added to some plans, added to these plans based on what we reviewed at the Board of Health meeting related to stormwater. So one of them is the drainage on the existing plan had shown the drainage going out across Main Street. In reality, I believe they dug up some record plans, and this drainage is tied into that big pond-looking basin.
Okay.
Actually, within the shopping center.
I'm sorry.
So that addressed some of our concerns as far as being tied into the town's drainage system and whatnot, so that I believe the plans are gonna get updated to show that condition. We had also talked with the Board of Health about infiltrating the roof runoff, because you're in a zone 2, if possible, so we're gonna go back and look and see if they could potentially do a perforated pipe from the roof to the drainage system to get some of that water back in the ground if possible. And then, as you had mentioned, Rich, there's a couple things on the operation and maintenance plan to update, which are, typical comments that we make and see.
And then there
If
was
I'm missing anything.
the emergency shut-off manhole that was being removed.
Right, there was a shut-off proposed in one of the manholes in case there's like a spill, just with the high use of the site. But in talking with the Board of Health and vetting that through, for this particular site, that's more of a gas station scenario, to put that in this use in a McDonald's, I don't think that the operation of the valve would be, I think it would be hard to train people to know it's there, to know when to activate it or take it out, offline or whatever. I think it would cause more problems for this particular site than it would do good, so.
All right, so I think, so that went through all that. Were there any other questions from the board? And basically, they're redoing what they had, and then last time we looked at the exterior, I think we walked through all the signs before too. The parking signs. Did you have a layout, just on was there a plan view of the markings on the pavement? Did you have that? Is that on one of them? I just want to look at okay. So is there's no, is there a sidewalk to out to Main Street?
Yes. Yep, right down the middle. It's covered by a tree canopy right now, but
Yeah, okay, there it is. And will that be marked? Is that marked?
yes, there's a crosswalk.
All right, I see it now. Yeah, it's white over there, that's why I couldn't see
Yeah,
it.
it's a little hard to see.
Okay. All right, so I think we would need, we'd have to, would they get us a list of waivers that they'd be looking for?
I think they need and the updated plan set, since
Yeah.
they're kind of working through Board of Health,
Okay.
and at the same time, I think the idea was to get an updated plan set after collecting all the comments.
All right, so if we get an updated plan set and a list of waivers from what you're looking at, I think we're gonna continue the hearing till, at our next meeting. December 14th, yeah. And I think, other than that, it looked pretty good to me.
Can the waiver just go on the plans, or should we give you a narrative of what we're requesting?
Camille can send you a thing.
A letter.
A letter of how we do it,
Usually
yeah.
use a letter so you can build on it.
Of course.
You could send them an example of one. All right, make a motion that we continue the hearing till December 14th.
Second.
All right, motion's made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
7:40 p.m.
At 7:40 PM. All right, great. Well, thank you very much.
Did we go through public comments? I'm sorry, I just wanna make sure the formalities, I'm sorry, I don't wanna get something appealed later
Oh,
on
that's a
because,
good point. All
I'm
right, I
sorry.
make a motion to reopen the hearing for 808 Main Street.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any public comments for the redevelopment of McDonald's? Thank you for doing that. It
You'll
was
have to
fine.
excuse us. We were all at town meeting last night, so we're all a little
I'm
tired
rolling the dice that
tonight.
everybody wasn't here for this, so.
No, that's fine, that's fine. I appreciate the attention to detail. Thank you
So
very
now we
much.
close.
All right, I make a motion to close
No,
continue the hearing, sorry. Continue the hearing.
second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, let's get this out of the way. There we go. All right, that's out of the way, okay. Okay, so, all right, next, it being actually on time, pretty close to being on time. The next item on the agenda is a Acorn Place Senior Residential Community Development informal discussion. Before we do anything, I have a couple things that I want to walk through. This discussion is by the pleasure of the planning board, as this project has been approved and is well under construction. We will only allow items specific to the planning board's purview. If the conversation wavers from off of these topics, I will close the meeting. All comments will be through the chair and not through individuals. The items that we will discuss, which are under the planning board's purview, are the access road, drainage, specifically the one basin that is not functioning as expected, and the as-bills. Those are the only items under our purview. That's the only thing that we will talk about. The building commissioner is here. He can make a statement regarding the letter if he so desires, and may take questions if he feels that he should answer those. I would leave that up to him on that. Right now, the planning board, we're here to talk about our items, and that's it. So whoever is going to present for the association or group, if you could come forward.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Being a butter, I have to recuse myself.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, would you like me here or here? Which?
Wherever you're more comfortable.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Chair. Thank you for setting the ground rules, members of the board, staff. My name is Scott Erickson. I'm from the law firm of Perkins and Ansel. Our firm has been engaged by a number of the owners over at Acorn Place. We were engaged earlier this fall in connection with the upcoming planned transition of the condominium community from developer declarant control to owner control. And in that capacity, we've been working with the owners to identify issues. We certainly recognize, as the chair pointed out, that not all of the issues that we've identified are within the purview of this board. But there are some issues that we do think fall squarely within that purview and that we wanted to bring to your attention tonight. We submitted to this board more for informational purposes than anything else, a demand notice that we had sent earlier this month to the developer through their legal counsel. That letter incorporates a number of demands for items that don't relate to what you guys are dealing with here tonight. But it incorporates a number of photographs that we think are instructive. Obviously, there has also been some development and correspondence since that time, including correspondence from the fire department and I believe a report from Beta Engineering regarding the drainage. So what we'd like to talk about tonight, as the chair alluded to, is the access road. The owners feel strongly that the access road was, for them, both committed to be a second means of egress and ingress to the property. The board may have a different view. In any event, we are certainly concerned about the current condition of the access road. It does not appear to be well-maintained to serve even in its emergency functionality. It was not properly plowed last year. Now, with the rain that we've had over the summer and this fall, it appears to be sort of, muddy, perhaps not traversable. You saw, or you may have seen, the fire department, the fire chief indicated that, his preference would be that a more stable, perhaps even impervious surface be utilized so that we can ensure proper access by emergency vehicles, which is the functionality of the road. The drainage is certainly an issue. Our clients have a number of concerns, both about standing water, but also the operation of the basin, as the chair pointed out. The Beta report clearly indicates that the basin does not appear to be functioning as designed. There's significant water retention in that basin. There's also water pooling on site in areas, from the driveways to the yards. So overall, water is a concern on the site. That water is getting into basements. It is affecting other things as well. I understand, that may or may not be within the board's purview, but that is something that these owners are concerned about. In addition to those two major issues, the driveways and the sidewalks are also a concern, their current condition. I'd like to see those finished as quickly as possible. Last week, a resident was injured tripping over some of the exposed berm or sidewalk area. Those things happen, but at the same time, if you look at the photos, we're concerned that the current condition of the paving out there is a safety risk.
Well, that's getting a little beyond our purview.
Certainly.
So I just want to make sure
Nope.
that I'm very clear of that.
I appreciate that.
We're not going to go, we got your letter, we looked at the issues, we understand, but the only thing we're going to talk about is our issues.
Understood. And what we're asking for on those two issues is that this board follow up to ensure that the site infrastructure, especially the drainage infrastructure, is in compliance, installed, and operating in compliance with this board's approvals. We also,
If I could break in on that.
Please.
So, there was an observation made on the drainage infiltrator area, and Beta went out, took a look at it. The way the process works is that the developer and his engineer will provide a solution to what that issue is. With construction, everything's done, and I'm not defending anybody, I'm just telling you how it goes. They anticipated that it would work a certain way. It didn't. Part of our job is to catch that, have them propose a new solution, which will be reviewed by the engineer, our engineer, and they'll take care of the problem. So, and I think, Melissa, you just could also mention, I guess you had done some additional requests for testing prior to that.
During the design phase, when we were reviewing the stormwater, the soils admittedly are poor on this site. So there was some additional infiltration falling head tests done that we don't typically necessarily require, but there was some extra steps taken on this project with the basins to look.
Yeah, I don't know if that mic is live on the.
Yeah,
thanks.
okay. Sorry about that. During the design phase on this project, there were concerns with the soil, and so the applicant had done some testing to see how the soils in the basin would perform, and the drainage calculations were adjusted at the time. So it is something that we anticipated keeping a close eye on as once they were built.
Right, and for us, I mean, we're in charge of the general overall drainage, not specific, to each site. That's not beyond our purview. So, sorry I cut you off.
No, that's fine. And then we also, I guess, we wanted to propose to this board that some additional modifications be made to the access road, specifically to ensure that they're operating safely, whether that's pavement, whether that's some kind of gravel surface or some other, more stable surface that will ensure that, vehicles, emergency vehicles, heavy emergency vehicles, that can travel over that way safely.
Okay. So those are the points, so, okay, I mean, and we can talk about it ourselves. I don't know, I'd actually like to, maybe we could ask the engineer for the developer. They're not finished with construction. So one of the things I hasten to do is judge someone before they have a chance to do whatever they're gonna do. Maybe if the engineer for the developer could come up and explain what the final result of that access road will be.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dan Merricken with Legacy Engineering. I think as has been noted, this is an active construction site. The project is not constructed, it's not completed. So there are a number of open issues that are still being worked on, and some of these things that have been talked about are those items. We are going to investigate the drainage questions that were raised, and we can talk about changing the emergency access road to a gravel surface. We certainly don't have any objection to that. I don't think paving it is the way to go, but we certainly can explore that with the fire chief. That's not a big deal.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, good, thank you for that, appreciate it.
Sure thing.
I know some other members of the audience and other residents may have things they wish to communicate.
Yeah,
We
no, that's
understand-
fine, as long as it's, like I said, as long as it's specific to our thing, it's not that we're not, we're homeowners too, and we understand, it's just, there's things that we can deal with, and there's things that we can't deal with.
Understood, and I think they'll be within those parameters. Thank you very much, Everett.
When you come to the mic, if you could please identify yourself, and like I said, please try to keep it to the specific items.
Good evening. My name's Roger Hughes. I live at 4 Acorn Place in the senior citizen community. I come tonight to address one specific issue, and that is fire safety and the lack of access to the east side of this development. Specifically, the road called Emergency Access Road, it's unusable, it's inaccessible, and in practical purposes, it does not exist. Obstructed by building material, people live there now. And if there were a structural fire on the west side of this project, the east side of the project, people would be unable to escape that area. That road should be opened now, before that project is goes any further, to prevent a major disaster occurring in this community. And I urge you to take actions to bring this to conclusion before disaster happens. Thank you. Questions?
You need to put a stop to that, we're here all night.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna be
Yeah.
clapping.
Yeah, the other thing is, sorry, people, this is, although I know it was something that was, that would be good for your side, what we do want to have this as it's a public hearing. We want to try to keep it so the applause is not there. Does the developer want to answer any questions about any material stacked there, or any comment, or with that?
The emergency access road is constructed. There's a gate on it. The fire department has a key to the gate. I'm not aware that the fire department has any concerns about access to the site, but we certainly can take a look at that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, just if there was anything in the way, that would be the only question. So-
They're building 2 of the units in that general area right now, so that whole area is, part of a construction zone. But the fire department could certainly access the site from Acorn Street if they needed to.
Okay, we're done.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will stop the meeting. I'm just gonna tell you right now, this is not a concert, this is a public hearing. So you can't do that, all right? Does anyone else want to speak?
Currently on that access road, there are two,
Excuse me, sir, could you just interrupt, why is my brain not working? Identify, just introduce yourself,
yes, I'm
please, your name
Tom
and address.
Bonner, and I'm
Thank you.
at 2 Acorn Place. And I walk around, every day, and there have been two very large, almost tractor-trailer-like things right in the middle of that access road. So I doubt a fire engine could get by, or, just barely a car could make it. So I would look at those.
Okay, well, thank you. Yep, come on up, yep.
Good evening. I'm Vivian Mclarek, and I'm at 24 Acorn Place. And my site, my half of the duplex, is located right next to the drainage pond, drainage basin number 1. What I have undertaken, because I saw we had that rain, which wasn't really tremendous, at the end of October, and I started recording, because the drainage basin filled up so completely, it kind of worried me. I looked on the stormwater maps for Millis, and where we are at the top of a hill, we should have a very small percentage of any damage in a 100-year storm. And yet I see this water coming up. So I undertook to take measurements. I started October 31st. I'd like to submit to the board and any engineers or anybody else affected with this, my calculations.
No, that's fine, you can
Okay,
submit that, no,
it's-
you know.
If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, no, I mean, that's fine, we can have that submitted, and I think, from what we've determined, there is an issue with that, and like I said, our engineer is going to review whatever the solution is, so it's, I think that's something that is on our radar screen.
Thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate your cooperation. Should I give you copies now?
You can, yeah, you can hand them to Neil, yep, thank you for that. Yep. Oh, just one second. Oh, great, thank you. Okay.
Robert Fox, manager of Acorn Millis. I hear everybody's concern, and we will take care of that immediately. We did measure the width of the road and the accessibility of the fire trucks, and it was wide enough, but I know it looks crowded. We have some storage boxes on one side. We'll remove them. We'll grade, now I hear everybody's concern, we will grade it. And part of the permit requires us to excavate a couple of feet down to get all the bad material out and to gravel it and roll it. And that's part of the construction at the end of the project when we pave it. In the meantime, we'll get it prepared for, just to make it look more accessible and clear the junk out of it. And I don't, other than that, I really, this is the first time that I heard this concern.
Ladies and gentlemen, come on, we talked about this, please.
Yeah, so that's,
Okay.
we'll take care of it.
All right, thank you. And then one other thing is, not for you, but for either Melissa or the engineer, there was some questions about the as-built. They have to get to a certain point for that to happen. I don't know if the engineer could explain when that process would happen.
Yeah, we're working on as-built as we go, as the facilities are being constructed, so we have some of that as-built information, but we're required to provide a full as-built before the final occupancy permit is issued.
Okay,
So that's what we'll be doing.
all right, thank you. Does anyone else have a comment or question? All right, well, thank you for all coming. I think some points were brought up, and I think the message was heard, and that's what happens when you have public hearings. I appreciate you all taking your time to come down. If you decide to leave and not stay for the rest of our meeting, because it is going to be exciting, if you could please make sure you file down the hallway so we can hear the rest of our meeting. So, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Sorry, excuse me. Excuse me.
Too late. What did you want to say?
I was hoping Mr. Fox would agree to keep the emergency road. Hello? Mr. Fox, could you remain for a moment, please? Mr. Fox?
Yeah,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
I was hoping that you would commit to keeping the emergency access road sufficiently plowed so that in the event of emergency, these people could exit in their own
Yeah, I
vehicles.
mean, last year, we only had a couple of buildings up front, and I'm not sure if it wasn't plowed, that was management. Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Yeah,
easier
no,
for a
that's
fire
fine.
truck to get through
We
than
have-
someone
we
in
have-
a
it's
small
36
Toyota.
We have 36 owners there now, so it's a totally different ballgame. So, okay.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that, Alan. That's okay. I thought we were all set. All right, we're just going to give everybody a minute to file out. What? All right, we're going to have a 1-minute break. Is exceptionally hot here.
Yeah, can we open another window? Are the windows in the back open?
All right, Mike, thank you for coming.
Just so you know, I couldn't hear a thing.
Oh, really?
You weren't speaking into the mic.
Me?
Yes.
Really? Oh, huh.
Just to let you know.
All right, sorry about that. Usually I'm pretty loud. All right, so now it is being slightly after, actually, we're ahead of schedule. It's close to 8:30. We can go, yeah, we can go ahead. Emerson Place definitive subdivision, field change request, Dan American Legacy Engineering, relocation of guardrails at 2 wetland crossings.
Good evening again. So this is, we sent you a letter, and I think you have my detail, but basically there are 2 wetland crossings at Emerson Place, and in those wetland crossings, we narrow the road footprint to minimize wetlands disturbance. So the approved plan had, on the sidewalk side, we have vertical granite curbing instead of the normal curbing, and then a sidewalk adjacent to the vertical granite curbing, just like you have downtown. And then behind that was intended to be a guardrail and the retaining wall. The retaining wall company that we're using needs to have the guardrail at least 3 feet away from the wall. So what we like to do is we like to kind of flip-flop and put the guardrail behind the curb, and then put the sidewalk behind the guardrail, and then on top of the retaining wall will be a pedestrian fence, which is required by the building code. So it has the added benefit of putting a guardrail between people on the sidewalk and traffic in the road. So that's the nature of the request. There was some discussion about the height of the pedestrian fence, which would be a black vinyl coated chain link fence. Building code only requires, I think it's 36 or 40 inches or something like that. We're proposing 4 feet. We think that's sufficient. I don't really want to have, a 5 or 6 foot chain link fence there, because it just kind of feels like you're in a prison yard. That's my thought.
All right. So I looked at this, and Melissa, we looked at this also together, so this seems reasonable to me. And the having the extra barrier between the cars and the people seems like it makes sense, so I think I have no issue with that. So we'd have to do a vote on this?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so I make a motion that we approve the modification for the sidewalk guardrail at stream crossings as a field change.
Second.
All right, motion's been made.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, great, thank you.
Excuse me.
All right. Next item on the agenda, waiver of site plan approval in and Hope retail space, Dan American Legacy Engineering. Do you collect 3 paychecks for this, Dan? I'm just asking.
You're my fourth meeting. I was at Medway before I came here. So this is a request for site plan waiver for the Inn and Hope property. What we have is they have a new tenant coming in, a new warehousing tenant that they'd like to put in. So in this space right here, this is occupied by two companies that currently do warehousing and storage activities. The new company wants to move in and take those spaces, and they would use this existing area over here, which is already set up for truck storage, as their access point. And then the two existing companies that are in this space we're proposing to move them into the old Inn and Home space. And, you know, it's a low-intensity use. There's not a lot of employees involved. There's not a lot of trucks involved. It's a pretty straightforward proposal. They've looked for retail tenants for that space, and there's zero interest for that. So they would really like to fill up the empty space and put it to good use. So the only thing that happens outside the building is when, right here, there are 4 or 5 existing overhead door openings, and they put, when it was converted from a warehouse to a retail center years and years ago, they put a ramp across the front of those. So they just need to remove that concrete ramp so that they can re-access those existing overhead doors for the trucks. But other than that, there's no changes on site. There's a ton of parking on the site, way more parking than there are employees or visitors. There's lots of room on the property.
So 2 questions.
Yep.
There is the dance, what is it, dance or karate, or which one is it? There's something.
There's a gym.
Gymnastics.
Gymnastics
Okay.
in here.
So is that, how is the, and I know it's a big site, but I'm just asking a silly question. So you've got the tractor trailer trucks. Is there gonna be, there'll be plenty of access for them to get around, and the parking for the gym people can be
Yeah, so the new company is gonna use
there?
the
Yeah.
doors over here. One of the tenants we're relocating uses doors over here.
Mhm.
Those are not gonna be, so there's like 184 parking spaces here. There's a ton of parking spaces
Okay.
here. So, and these 2 tenants that are moving from here to here are gonna use the doors that are over here. So this area in here is really unchanged.
Okay. And the other thing, no, where, so it's like a that's like a moving company? Just, the occupant was a bit vague.
The name is, hang on, it's Imperial Distributors. They're a local business out of Worcester, and they basically just do warehousing and distribution to local businesses. So they have they're gonna have 10 or 12 employees in the space. It's mostly just storage and warehousing. They're gonna have maybe 10 trucks, which is kind of consistent with what's going on there already. So it's pretty, you know, it's not a crazy operation. It's
Okay.
a pretty simple operation.
Anyone else on the board have any questions?
Comment?
Go ahead.
I'm glad you're able to find tenants to go in there. I just want to say, I wish, and I'm sure the community is going to feel much the same way, wish you could have obtained retail or entertainment or restaurant tenants.
They've been trying for years.
No, understandable. It's still dealing with the pandemic. Are these long-term permanent tenants, or will they be seeking other uses in the future?
Well, I mean, they're not permanent tenants, but, you know, I don't know, what kind of a lease do we sign in? Is this Jim, do you know?
I would say probably the 3-year lease.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, it's likely that we may be back here in 5 years, you know, having a different discussion.
Okay.
So they're actively, obviously looking for other uses. retail uses are more profitable, so if they could get a retail use in there, they certainly would. And they've been trying, they've just been unable. And of course, with COVID, it's impossible now.
Thank you. Any other comments? Anyone in the audience? Go ahead. Yep.
Mike Giampietro, Building Commissioner, Town of Millis. Just a question for the engineer. I didn't hear exactly what was gonna happen with handicap access, Dan. And with the AAB regulations at 521 CMR, just so you know that any work that's done that's over 30% of the assessed value, then the whole building has got to come up to the current AAB regulations. So during the permit process, I'm gonna ask for that to see what the assessed value is. And the AAB does not just take that one current construction cost into account. They don't have they have a 5-year look back, but they can go as far as they want back. So the big concern here is if you have employees in there and you have a handicapped person who comes in and files a complaint, we want to make sure that you cover the regulation for the 30% and do the evaluation of the construction cost when the applicant submits the building permit. And if you have it on your plans, that would help as well. So, okay?
Great, thank you for that, appreciate it.
Yeah, and there's, obviously, the front of the building is accessible, and there's a ramp in the notch area. But I'll certainly we'll have the applicant's architect go through all of that for Mike when they file the building permit application for the interior work, which is pretty minimal, but they'll go through all that.
Okay.
And make sure Mike's squared away on that.
Yeah. We don't need any trouble.
We don't either.
All right, I make a motion to, what do we do? We're going to.
Site plan waiver.
Waive site plan review.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Okay. All right, other business, responsibilities and expectation of planning board members, documentation and vote. Did everyone have a chance to go back and take a look at the document that we had put together?
Yeah.
Were there any comments, changes?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
there were 2 points that I had asked everybody to look at on this.
Yeah.
The first is on page 2, adding the provision that the planning board shall annually elect a chair and a clerk from among its own number. This I've included in here simply because it is a provision of Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 81A. That is not something that we have followed in the 10 years that I've been here. It is not necessarily something that I am suggesting that we should be having a revolving chair the way some other boards do. It could be up for the board, if the board chooses to simply confirm from one year to the next, yes, we want to maintain a chair, but I just brought it up,
that's fine.
highlighted that for discussion simply because it was part of the statute.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fine. I mean, I have no issue with that.
So I just wanted to see what everybody else felt.
We can put that in there.
If I could just
Go ahead.
interrupt, because after each May town meeting, election, if there's any election, you can always take a vote on the chair and clerk and re-elect the same people or
Right.
not. I mean, in my opinion, 1 year is not enough. I mean, as you know, it's a learning curve, but you certainly can take a vote after every town election.
And Camille can only teach so fast, because I'm still learning. And I've been here for at least 2 years. I
Well,
think.
is it Camille can only teach so fast, or
Oh, maybe
some
it's
of
I'm
us,
slow,
some
yes.
of us can only learn at a
So
certain
fast,
speed?
Yes. The other thing that you had noted, something else?
Oh, we had included in here, something from another town's description with regards to, when seeking, if somebody is seeking a position where it says, although there's no specific set skills required for members of the planning board, those seeking a position on the board should possess background that demonstrates experience in land use, basic knowledge of zoning, land use policies. I don't know that, I've seen this provision, having people asking for understanding in construction, engineering, architect, zoning, permitting, and/or land use. I mean, you know, as a real estate attorney, I had experience in one area. As a construction manager, you understand stuff that I don't, and I understand stuff that you don't. So I don't know that that's
We can take it out.
necessarily needed. I mean, I understand why towns have put that in, because saying, you know, okay, this is what you're gonna be dealing with, but I don't know that we want to, I don't know, it's just my point of view. I don't know that we necessarily wanna say, okay, we only want construction people. We only want people that are working, with, you know. So that's just my,
That's good. And just one thing, which I forgot to do. Melissa, I didn't realize you were still here. I forgot. If you and Caitlin can go, sorry about that. I know you're excited to hear about our rules and responsibilities, but I forgot you were here. Sorry about that. Thank you for coming.
Don't worry, you'll get charged.
I looked over and her eyes were rolling up into her head. So. No, you know what, I agree with you. You know, the thing is, you know, you get with different people with different skill sets. I pulled that from another town's thing. I just grabbed a bunch of different towns' planning board items.
Good night, guys.
And I put that on there. I agree with you. I don't think you need to have that. I mean, it would be nice if the person had some knowledge of that, but it's not necessary. So we could pull that out. So if we could just,
X out all the yellow?
we'll just X out the yellow. We'll take out that.
well,
Okay.
I don't, how do you
agree.
guys?
I agree, I think it could scare people away when we may be in need of a person that does have other skills. that-
Right, and I think that's the whole point, is that we don't, I don't know that this board was, it's, or at least in my knowledge, you have double the knowledge that I have here.
I wouldn't go
Of-
that far, but I think what it boils down to is anyone that wants to get on the planning board, first of all, wants to get involved with what's going on in town as far as building and what have you. So, you know, and these, you know, zoning books are, you can go down to the clerk's office and get one, start reading.
Right.
You know, and a lot of it's just basic knowledge, and a lot of it's just basic rules and regulations, you know, and it's the same in every town, because and it's mostly the same throughout the state. So anyone that wants to get involved, you have to have probably a diverse background and whatever, it helps, but, you know, usually people that want to get involved because they want to make the town better, so they're already reading the books. So that's how they're learning as they go along, and it does take minimum 5 years to get off the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And thank God for Camille.
All right.
Thank you for what you do for us.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll take that out.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we need to have any of that.
Yeah, no, we'll take it out. That's fine. That makes sense.
If somebody has that knowledge, that's great.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but I think we don't want to make it set out an appearance that we only want people who are in construction of some sort.
Yeah. No, and
Those
I
are the
agree.
only 2 points that I had. Again, really wasn't, the first one in particular about the election, I don't, it's in the law, it's in the books, but, I mean, I think, as George said, it takes 5 years on this board, but even after you've been on the board for so many years, there's a big difference becoming chair. This is not like some boards where you can just, it's just a matter of running a meeting. There's so much more involved for the chair. And, part of me is hesitant to say we're even going to discuss it every year, because I don't want to see the chair become a revolving door. But on the other hand, I guess we could leave it out and just wait and see if somebody comes and challenges it, and then we could.
Well, I think what we do is we go through the motions. That way it makes it legal. People don't understand the kind of work it is to be a chair.
Right.
Okay, it's a lot of work. You're constantly doing this, doing that, and, it's nuts. That's why I didn't want it. So.
All right, well, and the other thing is with this is our document, so meaning that, we're putting it in, but this can be a work in process. So if next year we decide that we want to change something and we want to make it where, we have Ellen Handel Day at the planning board. That would be entirely possible, that we could modify it next year. Right now, we have no baseline. We've got a baseline here. I think at least it's a good starting point.
Sure.
It's not perfect. We can change it. So I make a motion that we,
Just one quick question, are we taking this out?
yes, we're going to take that out.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're taking out all the yellow sections about the election, the election?
No, we're going to leave that, no, I'm sorry, we're going to leave that one in. We're going to leave that one in, sorry. We're going to leave that one in. Just the other one,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, I saw the wrong piece of paper.
If that's a requirement.
No, we'll do it. That's fine.
State,
Yeah,
is it an actual requirement?
Yes, it's listed as, in chapter 41, section 81A, is that the planning board shall annually elect a chairman and a clerk from among its own members.
Okay, then, so-
Said election shall take place at the first meeting after the annual town elections.
There we go.
And it should be in
Well, I
there.
think they do it that way, because if someone's running and
Exactly.
Yeah.
they don't get on for whatever reason, so.
All right, I make a motion that we adopt the Town of Millis Planning Board responsibilities and requirements.
Second.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great, thank you.
Does this have to go before town council?
We're gonna send it to town council. I think I had him look at, didn't we have him look at it already?
I don't
No?
think so, no.
All right, we'll send it to town council, but
So you
everything,
want me to I'll revise it and send it to.
revise it, send it to town council, just have them take a look
So
at
you're
it.
adopting it as amended?
Yes, correct. And everything that we got there was picked and pulled from other places, so I would be shocked if anything in there was.
Yeah, a lot of this came from, a lot of the stuff I pulled out, it actually just came from the state,
Right.
the state, general laws.
All right, next item, proposed special permit condition discussion, reviewed by town council.
Yeah, they just took out, they
Yep.
wanted me to take out the penalty.
Yep. Okay. All right, so that was the one that we, on the larger developments, that we have a website, we would put that in as a condition.
Right.
So I think now that town council's reviewed it, I'm fine with that. Any other comment?
No?
All right, so I would say that I make a motion that we, actually, do we have to do this? There'll be a special condition. Let's make a
Don't
motion.
really- you can take.
Sure,
a
let's
vote
take a
on
vote on it, why not?
Semantic.
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve the addition to special permits submitted on, well, let's call it revised. Let's put it as this date. What's today? Today is the 11th.
Yeah.
As reviewed by town council
11-9.
on,
The ninth.
yeah, and we will vote on it on the 9th. That was a long way to get to the end.
I know what you meant, somebody want a second?
I was at town meeting last night.
If you know what he meant, then I'll second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. All right.
So this just becomes something that we
Would put in as a
decide to
condition.
put in as a condition.
Correct.
I kind
If
of
it-
have a template of standard special conditions, and I'll just add that with a little note that it's for, you know.
For
that
over
certain
4,
element.
perfect.
And then
Yeah.
you guys will just have to remind me to use the template.
All right, I'm just gonna
Okay,
breeze.
officially, if you ever retire, I'm retiring the same day.
We had that conversation before we started today,
I
just so
am
you know.
out of here,
Um,
if you're not here.
All right, I'm gonna breeze through the updates of things happening
Oh.
in town.
Blah, blah.
Just so we have, so everyone at home knows what's going on. So in the Dover Road residences, they're actually starting construction on that. They've been contacting the town, and they are interested in actually getting a trailer there to start selling some of the units. So that's going on. Regency at Glen Ellen, they're keep on building up there. They're on the 3rd phase, and they're selling like hotcakes. 617, the old Collett plant, their demolition permit's been issued, and the noise and odor review by the Board of Health is in process, and I did see some work going on over there. GTE, which is the new growing facility across from R&R Auto, we approved the special permit. The appeal period ended yesterday. And then the owners must go to Concom and Board of Health. 114 units, Union Street's still churning along. That would be the affordable housing that they were looking to build. Main Street, Larch Road, Dwight Street, ZBA closed its public hearing. That is still also in process. That would be another thing of affordable housing on Main Street. 7 Water Street DPW building, they put the binder coat down there. The inside is substantially complete. I was there on Sunday. They're getting the furniture delivered, getting the last of the electronics and stuff set up. They hope to be done by the 15th. They think they'll be on target for that. And then in the vehicle building, they're actually putting up the sheetrock inside there, taping it. That may lag a little bit behind, but that would be, you know, somewhat near the same time. So that's pretty much on target. Sparhawk Academy, the building's actually built. That was something that is beyond us, but our part was taken care of. Emerson Place, they've clear cut down there. They're putting in the stuff for the roads and the drainage. And they've actually put some of the retaining basins in. And then Main Street at McDonald's, they came and we just reviewed that today. And the Bronze Street property, the town owns that now. And then the last thing is the PFAS, which is something that the DEP has found in our water. It's called a forever chemical. We just approved a $5.6 million plant to take that contaminant out of the water for 2 of the town wells. That was approved last night at town meeting. And that design is completed, and they're going to be, that's going to be underway as soon as they can get it going. So that's what's new and different in Millis. Last thing is approval from minutes of October 12th, 2021. I read the minutes and they were fantastic as usual. I make a motion that we approve the minutes of October 12th.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
One last thing, can we just set a January date? We have a December one.
Yep.
If you would mind just setting the January one.
Are we still doing your thing here?
What?
We did that.
We did that.
We just talked
We
about
voted
that.
on that already.
Which one?
Alan's
Special permit.
updated
Yeah,
permit thing.
we already did it. It's
Okay.
approved.
Well, it was in the packet.
Oh.
That's why I'm just checking, you know? I'm checking the checker.
Okay. Well, Camille already checked me before we started, so
All right.
that was to see what I screwed up.
Okay.
Let's see, January.
The 4th, the 11th,
I won't be here the 4th.
Okay.
That's Doug's birthday,
how about the 11th?
especially
let me
after
look.
last night at midnight, Mrs. birthday.
Yeah, 11th. 11th is fine.
I can do 11th.
11th work for everybody?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, January
Sure,
11th.
why not?
Wow, 2020.
All right, unless anyone has anything else?
The only thing is, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Dover Road, the storm drain where the flooding was
Oh, yeah.
occurring is completely full with sand
Okay,
and creates a large puddle on the road. It hasn't overflowed into that residence home yet.
right, all right, let me, that's a good point, you did tell me that last night. All right, so I'll make a note to reach out to Melissa to take a peek at that.
Thank you.
So, that's the thing. They may have a storm socket, we'll have to check.
I think it does.
Yeah.
You could barely see where the storm
Yeah.
drain is, but you can see little pieces of fabric sticking
Yeah,
up.
we'll check on that. They have a silt sock in there.
Dover Road where they were flooding.
The flood.
new homes.
Yeah.
Dover Estates, is that what they call it?
All right, no, thank you, Ellen, for that. We'll
Oh,
have,
yeah.
we'll have Beta take a peek at that.
Thank you.
Yep.
A question?
Yep.
I've noticed various times that land across from the new assisted living, which is owned by BASF, I've seen a lot of people wandering in and out of there. Not hunters, but it looks like engineers, surveyors, things like that. Is there anybody,
Where is it?
just beyond the assisted living heading towards Medfield,
Dover Road,
on Dover Road?
on the
Yeah.
left-hand
The
side
land
as you
on the
go
left.
towards
Oh,
Medfield.
okay, that vacant lot?
Yeah.
No, I don't know anything. We'll have to just do some snooping.
Isn't there a pollution issue there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
All right, I make a motion to adjourn.
okay.
Second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you upstairs.
You can all go home now.